Wales and Scotland defy Westminster on trans rights. Welsh government unveils the LGBTQ+ action plan. The Welsh government has unveiled a new LGBTQ+ action plan, which includes proposals to make it easier for trans people to change their legal gender. This comes just weeks after Westminster announced that it would attempt to block similar legislation put forward by the Scottish government on the basis that it risks conflicting with the UK's existing equalities law. To legally change their gender, people across the UK currently have to apply to a gender recognition panel and usually have to obtain a medical diagnosis of gender dysphoria first. The Welsh government is proposing to swap this process out in favor of a system based on self-identification, which is similar to the law recently passed in Scotland and increasingly in line with international norms. Well, this is, it's interesting because the Scottish government are trying to be more realistic in the timeline of everything, in terms of the reality of the process, trying to take away the medical issues, even though they do rely a little bit on it. They're also planning to shorten it, change the age from 18 to 16, which is going to be interesting. But unfortunately, because the UK government dominates Scotland, it's not that easy in the UK. So they're still on the 2-year process with a long medical history and thousands of documents or tons of documents plus fees. And so it's going to be interesting to see who budges first. I kind of bet it's going to actually make England come closer to Scotland and Scotland closer to England.
Well, I'm going to add a little something to the mix for this story. I follow a very handsome and very married gay Episcopal priest in Canada who posted on his timeline today, a Church of England synod voted to bless same-sex couples. They still won't call it marriage. And his words, it creates a second class of covenant relationships. It is a painfully slow step in the right direction. So, it's an interesting time that we live in that, Westminster wants to strike it down, and meanwhile the Church of England is taking, admittedly, a crappy step, but nevertheless a step in the right direction.
Well, in this situation for trans people, it also creates a second class because not everybody has the medical resources, the income to go through the therapy and the treatment for the gender dysphoria diagnosis.
The gender identification panel, which I've never heard of.
Yeah, but
sounds horrifying.
Gender and sex are very different things.
Yes.
Sex are the physical characteristics. Gender is how you identify. Having to go through all that stuff for sexual confirmation, gender confirmation surgery is one thing, but to be able to live your life as you authentically feel should be easier.
So I'm probably going to be the one out at this table right now, and I'm going to say this, but when we can decide, okay, and I'm going to be the devil's advocate right now, but when we can decide, today, I identify as he, him. Tomorrow I identify as she, her. Maybe the next day I'm going to be, or a rock. And then all of a sudden now you're self-identifying. Okay. And that's fine in our social circles. Correct. But what I think is on the table right here is the legality of it and how we then incorporate that into all the paperwork that goes into living your life and being a citizen of whatever nation you are a part. So I'm, I want to know where then are we, where is that happy place? Where's that compromise? Where do we come to the table and go, okay, well, this will be okay for this process. And I think that there needs to be more trans people at the table. And I think there needs to be more LGBT at the table helping to lead these conversations and shape these legislations. And then then there would be no confusion. There wouldn't be Westminster against Scotland,
On the Scottish end, they do have a lot more trans input. On the British end, it's still the old upper crust with the legal process of you can do A, B, and C, but you can't do D, E, and F. And we have to have 16 people involved in the process. And from what I've done research on, the Scottish are just saying, look, we don't need 75 people in this process. We need one doctor and the person. And, and that's why they're trying to change the age from 18 to 16. And it seems to be a little more, it's a 6-month process versus a 2+ year process. And then it's also the documents, your birth certificate, your legal documents, your visa, your passport. So,
which are documents that we already kind of are born with, right?
So again, it seems like Scotland's trying to get Westminster to come more to the middle and say, look, you may dominate us, but we need to be our own laws here. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it will be.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out television network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.